Hey, well, this is a new one for us, right?
That's the first time.
Yeah, we're in two separate places. I miss you. Anyway, I'm Irene De Jesus,
And I'm Hector de Jesus
and we are the De Jesus Law Group, and this is the Noon Show.
because it's noon somewhere in the world.
Hey, look at us being able to do this.
Yeah.
All right, babe, will you do our disclaimer?
Yes, we are attorneys. However, we're not necessarily your attorneys. That can be remedied. All you have to do is call, make an appointment, and we can go from there. But otherwise, this is for educational and instructional purposes only.
Awesome. So, Hector, where are you, my dear love of my life? Where are you?
I am at the D-Land office.
That's right. Yep, that's where you are. And so I've got the dogs here with me in the home office. So hopefully they're sound asleep. So we should be good. Hey, y'all, today is the last day to vote for best in when can you make sure you put in the chat box in the comment link what we're supposed to be the best at for. It's something with the best law firm. It's with the News Journal. Today's the last day. So if you haven't voted, would love if you get in there and vote. Win our producer. She's amazing. She'll have that link in there. What else we got going on, babe?
We have the power of a plan for your family, and that's going to be with Amanda Agnew. And
Oh,
that's
that's
going to
coming up.
be in May. Yep.
Yep.
So registration's open, and there's some kid activity options as well.
Good. So why are you looking off like you're having a stroke?
Because that's where the writing's at. I didn't want to write it in my hand and do this, so.
So just for the audience, Hector's not having a stroke. We're actually okay. He's reading from a monitor. But no, it's actually kind of really cool. Amanda Agnew, she is a State Farm insurance agent. She's going to be doing an event with me in DeLand on May 17th, right? It's May 17th. Oh, you have to probably look at your notes. Yeah, there you go. She's going to be doing the events, but it's for families. It's actually for families. And we're going to be having Connie's Creations there. And with your kiddos from age 5, I think it's till 12. Win will have all the information in the chat box. But I think it's kiddos age 5 through 12. Connie's going to be doing a really fun artistic activity with them. So I think that's going to be really cool, while we educate parents on creating a plan that'll protect your family and your kids. So that should be really, really good. What else we got coming up? Anything? Are we
Wine
good?
and Wills on the 24th at 6:30.
Oh, we've got a big, busy month, don't we? Once again, Wynn's going to have all of that amazing stuff in the chat box. But Hector, today, what are we talking about?
We're really talking about the 5 estate plan myths.
Stop
I know,
looking
I didn't
at
have
your
it.
screen.
Hold on a second. 5 estate plan myths and what parents really need to know.
Okay, so y'all, this topic came out of our law firm really trying to help folks get past whatever roadblocks they have and put plans in place for them and their family. And one of the things that we did is we actually reached out to a moms group on Facebook and said, what are some of your barriers? What are the issues you're having? Because we know almost 70% of folks do not have any kind of planning in place. If, God forbid, something happens to them and they become incapacitated or they pass away. They just have no plans in place. And so one of the questions we asked them is, what do you see as barriers? And that's where we got these 5 myths. And we specifically want to talk about these myths today on the Noon Show. And hopefully we'll provide you with some really good information that you can use. And if you've got questions, please type them in the comment box because we're here to answer you live. This is going to be really, really good. If Hector can stop reading the screen, but
I know, I'm just going to move the bloody thing over. So hold on a second. There you go.
There you go. All right, babe, what's the first myth?
First one is that estate planning is all about money and where that goes when I die.
Yeah, so that was one of the big things we saw over and over again in the moms group was, yeah, estate planning's just about money and me dying. That's really it. What are your thoughts on that, Hector?
I actually call it life planning, because most people think estate, it's I die, money, blah. But if you look at it as life planning, so what happens if you become incapacitated and you're not dead? What happens if you do die, or you're in a hospital for a long time? Do you want your wishes to be honored? I mean, there's just so much that goes on to it that it really fits the title of life planning, because that's
I
really
love
what it's
that.
all about.
Yep, I love that. So it really isn't, in our perspective, right? In the planning that we do with our families, it's not about necessarily death, right? It's what kind of control, what kind of ability to choose do you want while you're alive? It's all about your choices. Who do you want to be your agents for you? So step in your shoes, right? And do things that you would want done, but for whatever reason you can't right now. That's both in life and if you pass away. So, who in life, if you can't make financial decisions, who would you want? Who would you trust to do that for you? That's one of the choices. If, God forbid, you've got something going on and you can't make your own healthcare choices, what could that be? So surgery, say you're in surgery and something's going on in surgery and they've got to get your approval to do whatever. Who do you know, and have you made that choice legal? Who do you know that knows what you want? So they have the legal authority to make those decisions for your health when you can't. Those happen before death, right? So it's not just about, well, what happens to my money when I die? Personally, I don't plan on having much money left over when I die. Ha! I
Got
want
to
to use it
enjoy
in
it.
life. Yeah, I want to enjoy it. I
All
also
right.
want to plan for the grandkids, but still, that's my thing. So what's the second one, babe?
Myth number two, I have plenty of time, so I don't need an estate plan right now.
Oh my, that one hits. So that was another really popular one on that mom's blog. And I will tell you it hits close to home because for us, I remember Hector, this was a long time ago, but you were in your mid 30s, right? The
Mhm.
boys were 9 and 10 at the time. They're now like what, 27 and 28, but the boys were 9 and 10, and both of us, you were in your last semester of law school. We were both nurses, trauma and ER, pretty much thought we were invincible. And you had a brain tumor. We found out you had a brain tumor on your brain stem, and we were told that you had less than a 1% chance of survival. And you and I are both in healthcare, and we saw the MRI, we saw the CAT scan. It did not look good.
Mhm.
Do you want to comment any more on that?
No, I mean, it's just something that you don't plan. And especially when you have minor children. I mean, from my perspective, all I was thinking about is what's going to happen to you guys. And I would imagine on your perspective, you're wondering what's going to happen as well. And,
Yeah.
that could have really, that there could have been some peace in that time knowing there were already plans in place. That was one of my biggest worries, at
I
that
would
point in
agree
time.
with you because he gave us, he asked us, he said, the surgeon asked us, do you want to do emergency surgery right now? Or I can give you 7 days to get your affairs in order. And the reason we got 7 days is because honestly, the prognosis was so grim. It was like, a lot of people don't get time. And, Hector always says, and I agree with him, planning in the middle of a crisis is probably not the ideal time to plan. I remember not hearing what was going in one ear and coming out the other. I was so focused on, here's this list. This is what I have to get done. And somehow I have to keep it together, not only for my husband, who I adore, but for my kids. I have to keep it together for everybody. And that was a lot. It was a lot. So, you might feel like we were, where we really thought we were invincible. And of course, nothing's going to happen. But we just want to encourage you that you don't know, right? You just don't know. And from our own perspective, I think I agree with you, Hector. If we would have had something in place beforehand, I wouldn't have had to spend time in those 7 days to do that.
Yep. Yeah. And it's just, I mean, everyone knows of someone that either passed way too soon or unexpectedly, where it just wasn't a thought. I mean, it happens all the time. And that's, so when I hear folks go, well, I've got plenty of time, I can do it another time. It's like, man, you don't want it when you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the time. So we just, if you're out there listening and, you're not in the middle of a crisis, this is a good time to do it. It's a good time to do it when you don't have to, right? When you can just take your time and really make some good decisions. Make good decisions. All right, babe, what's the next one?
All right. So myth number 3, married people don't need estate plans or a trusted loved one knows what to do if I become incapacitated or die. And that is just so wrong.
Yeah, but why is that wrong? Well, first of all, hey, wait a minute. Now, these were real moms that were writing all this in. So, first of all, I want you moms to know we're not here dissing you. We're not.
No.
Okay.
No, but the thing is a huge majority of people think, well, I'm married. Well, first off, if you're married, and we saw this with COVID, when if one spouse went into the hospital, especially earlier on in COVID, where no one got into the hospital, you basically lost contact. And unless that spouse had given permission for the physicians or medical staff to speak with the spouse wasn't getting any information, because that would be a HIPAA violation. So most people just think, well, I'm married, so I'll get this information. That's not necessarily the case.
And also, Hector, right, with you, so with finances, I mean, Hector, we're married, right? Obviously, but Hector can't sign for me a contract, right? I mean, if we don't have something already in place, he can't just, if it's in my name only, he doesn't have legal authority just because we're married, just because we swap spit, right? He doesn't have legal authority to sign something for me unless you've got
a power of attorney.
Right. And what's a durable power of attorney, babe?
So a durable power of attorney, it's power of attorney, but it survives incapacity. And basically a durable power of attorney allows me to step into your shoes. So when we bought our boat and you weren't at the dealership and we wanted to make sure your name was on the title, all I had to do was pull up my durable power of attorney for you, and then I could sign your name so that your name would be put into the title. So it's a great document, but it's one of the most overlooked documents, specifically when you're married, or if you're living with someone and you buy a house together, and God forbid something happens where you need to refi the house or sell the house or do something, and that other person's incapacitated. Now you have to go through a guardianship proceeding.
Right.
So that you can get, so
even if you're married, it doesn't matter. The married part doesn't help you. Okay. So
yeah, and even like the trusted loved one would know what to do if I become incapacitated or die. Well, what if that trusted someone was in the car with you? And also, what happens if that trusted loved one all of a sudden has second thoughts about pulling the plug? And no, they can't do that. Outside of the fact, really, why would you want to put that on someone to pull the plug? Where if you write that down, they're honoring your wishes. If you don't write that down, now that person's making the decision for you to die. And that is something that some people can't do.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things we walk through, right, with couples is look, if you get to the point where it truly is you're incapacitated and you're in a persistent vegetative state, there is no hope, right? You're incapacitated and this is a terminal condition that you get to decide before it happens. Once again, it's about your choices and making those choices when you have a clear mind, right? And so you can make the choice that says, look, I do not want artificial prolonged measures to keep me going when there is no hope whatsoever. And like Hector says, I think if you can make those decisions beforehand and your family members know, wow, have you just taken a huge burden off of them,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So very good. Babe, is there any more?
Myth number 4, my children will be taken care of because they are the beneficiaries of my life insurance policy.
So eek, 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 eek. Oh my goodness. Is it okay if I answer this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so just keep in mind this, y'all. Not a great, and most parents don't know this, not a great idea to put minors as beneficiaries on things like life insurance or retirement accounts. Why? Because I just think about the logistics on this. The court cannot give money to a minor, right? Your minor doesn't get a $10,000 check. It just doesn't work that way. So if you put a minor on as a beneficiary and you haven't put anything else in place, you're now ensuring that this asset that was prior to this was going to be a beneficiary designated asset, didn't need to go through probate. You've now made sure that it's going to go through probate with all the headaches, the cost, the expense, you name it. So we don't ever recommend putting minors as the beneficiaries. Hector, would you talk a little bit about, just because you did a lot of litigation, would you talk a little bit about if you put somebody other than the minors as a secondary beneficiary, what kind of issues can you run into there? So say like it's the brother-in-law or whoever.
Yeah, and when because typically in probate, anything that's beneficiary designated is not part of the probatable assets. The problem, what happens with an insurance policy for minors, then that goes into a guardianship. So what happens, you have to do a guardianship. And most of the time, so let's just say a dad dies, whether they're married or divorced, and the mom's alive. If the dad dies and there was a policy, it still has to go through guardianship, and the mom isn't necessarily guaranteed to be the guardian of the property. She'll be the guardian of the person, but not necessarily the guardian of the property. So you have to go through court, do all of that fun stuff, and they'll typically, the judge can appoint a guardian ad litem. That's another attorney, so that's an extra cost and other issues there. But my experience, what happens when someone, and this actually happened to a client that I have, the sister of the decedent was named as the primary beneficiary of the $500,000 life insurance for in care of the 2 kids. In essence, the insurance company just sees who's primary because that's who gets the money. And there is no obligation to use that money for the kids. It's basically
So the
whoever.
sister-in-law was listed. So this was a divorce case, right?
Mhm, mhm,
The ex-husband, the dad, he passed away.
mhm.
He had listed as the primary beneficiary his sister
Right,
with the intent that the money was used for his minor children.
right.
And what
And that
what happened?
um, minor children never saw the money.
Nope.
So
Never
that
got
is
it.
so. I mean, that's one extreme
Yep.
example. The other example could be the sister had every intention of giving it to the minors. However, she got divorced. Now her ex gets half, or
Right.
she
What? Wait, slow down a second.
Mhm.
Why does her ex-spouse get half? What's the
because
concept? Why?
because the money is hers.
Yes.
It's yeah, it's her
It's not
money.
the kids. She's the primary beneficiary. That means the money is hers. It's paid to her. So if she's in the middle of a lawsuit, like Hector said, like maybe she's getting divorced, right? So, they're entitled in Florida, they're entitled to 50% of the assets. That's an asset. So,
Right.
yes. What else, Hector?
Another thing that can happen is, you know, $500,000 goes to the sister and she's going to use it for the kids. However, her kids are trying to get into college and they're applying to student loans, and FAFSA is going to look at, the household income and say, oh, you have a 500,000, you don't qualify.
Your
So
kids
even if
don't qualify. Yep.
yeah, so it affects the person receiving it. So the best way to do that is to put it in trust, testamentary, or a regular trust, so that that money, the beneficiary is the trust. It goes to the kids, and you
Yep.
can have the sister, you can have whoever
Whoever
watch, be the
manage it.
trustee of it,
Yeah.
but now that money's not theirs, and they can manage it for the kids, and
So
then you
the
guarantee it.
the money's not the sisters or whoever, think of the adult, it's not theirs. They manage it for the benefit of
Of
the
the children,
beneficiaries, right? The beneficiaries are the kids. It's
right?
really cool. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I think we did really good on that one. What's the last one? Myth number 5.
My will avoid my loved ones from having to go to probate.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hector, you and our firm, we have a lot of experience with probate. I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah. So by and large, what I always tell clients is a will is named that because it will go to probate. But typically the way things go to probate is if you don't have a will, or if you do have a will. Or even if you have a trust but you don't put things into the trust, which is called funding it, then anything that's not put into the trust will go to probate. And that's because when you do a trust, it has a pour over will. So just again, a will go to probate. And the whole purpose for probate is basically for a judge to appoint someone to be able to close out the estate, pay the debts, distribute any assets if there are any assets available, and to make sure things get taken care of.
Okay, so myth number 5 says that if I have a will, it doesn't have to go to probate. Hector just busted that one. I wish we kind of had like what's that called?
The
Effects in the background where something
uh,
blows up. That would have been good on that one because a will, probably 90% or more of our clients, when they first come to see us, don't understand that, right? So if you're one of the ones that you're like, what? Don't worry, that's most people don't have an idea on that one. So a will go to probate. Can you explain, Hector, why? Because I mean, some people might be going, I took the time to do a will. Are you kidding me?
well, it's because, well, first off, when you probate, the only things that are probated are things that are in your name solely, the person that's passed. And it's basically it has to be wrapped up. So you can't sign anything because you're dead. So someone has to be appointed to sign for you to make sure that any creditors out there are satisfied. But there's an order of who gets paid when
Right,
all of
but
that
before
happens.
we get there, though, I think the important part is somebody has to substitute their signature for yours
Mhm.
because you're not here and you can't sign. So during life, if you're going to buy something like a house or a car or whatever, you're signing that contract. You can't do that when you passed away. So who needs to do that for you? That's part of the probate court process. That's why a will has to go through the court system called probate.
Mhm.
All right, are there any questions? If anybody's got any questions, we would love to be able to answer them for you. Hector, do you mind just taking a couple of seconds talking about a trust? Now, by the way, we're not here to say that a trust makes sense for everyone or that a will makes sense for everyone, right? So, Hector, do you mind talking a little bit about a trust? And then I think we'll end.
Yeah. So basically, the way I would explain the trust, just think of it as a safety deposit box, or a safe rather. And what it does is you put things in. It could be property, it could be investments, it could be money, it could be a variety of things. You would put that into the trust, and then it's protected. If you don't put it into the trust, then it has to go through probate, because what you're doing in a trust is you're titling those assets into the name of the trust. And what happens when someone passes, they don't have to go through probate unless things are, are left out. But what you're able to do as well is handle that. Sometimes you don't even need a lawyer
Yeah, it's
to do
awesome.
it. Yeah, so it's because probate right now in Florida, because of the pandemic, and we're still coming out of it, it is much longer. It can be anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. It just
Oh,
depends.
easily. Oh, please,
So
easily. But with that note, you guys, I think we covered the 5 myths really well. And remember, this is the last date to vote for best law firm in the area through the News Journal. When I know is going to have a link on that one. We would love you guys to vote for us. It's our first time ever doing it, ever. So this is just fun and novel. I love it. We've got several events coming up in the month of May to help get you educated and really enjoy it too. So there's one event where we're doing it with wine tasting. There's another event where you get to get educated on all of this and why you might need it or might not need it. And also at the same time, your kids get to do a fun artistic event. Lots going on. That'll all be in the links, and Win will have that there. Anything else, babe?
nope, I think that's about it.
And then Mother's Day is coming up this month too.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess the first 5 moms, or the mom in your life that books a legal life planning session with us, gets a mani-pedi and a free session on us in May.
Ooh, what's a legal life planning session? Real
A
quick.
legal life planning session is about an hour and a half, 2 hour meeting with one of us, and it allows us to really look at what gaps you may have. Do you have a plan? Do you not have a plan? We really go into what does no plan look like, will plan look like, trust plan looks like, so that you can make the best choice for your family.
Yep, it's you deciding what do you need. So, and we just educate you. And with that, I think we'll sign off. Oh heavens, there it comes. Tom Brady. All right, with that, bye-bye.